Chapter 4805. Granny Feng looked at Yi-Ching Luo with gentle eyes. It's all thanks to little Mississippi. Yi-Ching Luo cupped her face with both hands. I'm not as good as Granny Feng said. It's all because little uncle wanted to confirm my identity, so he specially came back. That's also because of little miss, the acting god emperor came back. The more Granny Feng looked at this young lady who looked similar to the former god emperor, the more she liked her. No, they were not similar at all. The former god emperor had received the god emperor's inheritance since he was born, so he bore an extremely heavy burden. So there was always a hint of melancholy between the former god emperor's brows. Although the former god emperor would smile and be happy. But she was always so noble and elegant. She would never take off that mask of hers at any time. Anne. The little miss in front of her. Her brows were always filled with a smile that made people feel happy. That pair of long and narrow eyes. As if it was always lit with the light of hope. Her smile was always so bright. So that people could only see her. They couldn't help but smile along with her. This was the playfulness and liveliness that could never be seen on the former god emperor's face. Granny Feng's eyes were slightly red. Little miss, it's really great that you're back. It's a good thing that I'm back, don't cry. Yi-Ching Luo quickly stretched out her hand to wipe her tears. Just when she stretched out her hand, Yi-Ching Luo found that her palm was stained with black charcoal. Yi-Ching Luo, she immediately withdrew her hand. But, a light laugh came from the door. Feng family's patriarch had woken up and came over following the fragrance. I knew you must have been busy in the kitchen early in the morning and made yourself look like a little flower face. When Granny Feng saw the charcoal on Yi-Ching Luo's face, she couldn't help but laugh. Yi-Ching Luo used her sleeve to wipe her face. She had stained her face with her hands when she was pretending to be bashful just now. Sure enough, shyness didn't suit her. The young lady's smear. Not only did it not erase the charcoal traces on her face. Instead, it made her face even more blotchy. Feng family's patriarch and Granny Feng laughed even more happily. What's the matter? Blood-bone barbaric king also came over. When he saw Yi-Ching Luo. Even the barbaric blood-bone king's cold and expressionless face showed signs of cracking. The corners of the barbaric blood-bone king's mouth twitched unnaturally. Yi-Ching Luo, all right. It could make everyone happy. So be it if you're ugly. Anyway, she was good-looking. Even if it was painted. Even that couldn't conceal her beauty. For the next few days, Yi-Ching Luo had been accompanying her maternal grandfather in the Feng residence. On the third day after Feng Liqiong left the Feng family, Feng Liqiong had returned. He also brought a team of divine guards to guard the Feng family. He even arranged for 2 groups of divine guards to protect Yi-Ching Luo in the dark. This posture made Feng clan master a little worried. What's wrong? What happened? Someone wants to harm Xiao Luo? Feng family lord pulled Feng Liqiong back and asked with a serious expression. Feng Liqiong's face congealed. There's no way to settle the matter with the 5 great aristocrats. It seems that someone has gotten the news of a mysterious lady appearing in the Feng family. And there's evidence that the death of the 5 great aristocrats' important members is related to our Feng family's mysterious lady, Xiao Luo. He paused for a moment. With the divine guards and divine guards' dark team's protection, Father, you don't need to worry. Yi-Ching Luo didn't have much change in her emotions. After Feng Liqiong finished speaking, she curled her pink lips and said. Chapter 4806. Uncle, why not? I go back to the lower realm first. Feng Liqiong's eyes congealed slightly. Not waiting for him to speak. Feng family patriarch stopped her. No. If those people chase you to the lower realm, how can they protect you? They won't expect me to be in the lower realm. Yi-Ching Luo analyzed the pros and cons. They have their eyes on the Feng family. If I am in the lower realm, it will be safer, isn't it? What's more, I came to the god realms suddenly. My brothers and sisters in the lower realm will definitely be worried about me. Yi-Ching Luo sighed softly. I should take the opportunity to go to the lower realm to tell them that I am safe. Qing Luo. Feng Liqiong coughed lightly. I also don't recommend you to leave the Feng family. Yi Qing Luo looked at him. Feng Liqiong sighed faintly. No one knows to what extent those people have their eyes on you. If you leave the God realm and they follow, I'm afraid it won't just be you. You will meet with an accident. I'm afraid your brothers and sisters in the lower realm will also not be able to escape. His eyes were filled with concern as he patted Yi Qing Luo's shoulder. The God's guards cannot stay in the lower realm for too long, otherwise it would destroy the balance in the lower realm. So uncle is unable to let the God's guards accompany you back to the lower realm. The light in Yi Qing Luo's eyes dimmed slightly. Feng family patriarch comforted her with heartache. Little Luo, wait for your uncle to settle the matter, then find a chance to meet your friends. Yi Qing Luo pursed her pink lips. I know. I don't want them to get hurt because of me. Feng Liqiong was also distressed. Don't worry, uncle will not let the 5 aristocrats ride on your head. Uncle must make them give an explanation for this matter. I believe you. Yi Qing Luo's eyes were filled with trust. Her burning gaze looked at Feng Liqiong and Feng family patriarch, then nodded at them. I know. Grandfather and little uncle are doing this for my sake. Feng family patriarch was even more distressed. Yi Qing Luo looked at Bloodbone Barbarian King, suddenly stretched out her hand and held his wrist. Uncle Bone, I have a request. The barbaric Bloodbone King stared at the fair and slender little hand on his wrist and was a little stunned. What? Uncle Bone, help me make a trip down to the lower realm and tell them about my news, so that they can be assured, all right? Yi Qing Luo's charming eyes were filled with hope. The Bloodbone Barbaric King frowned. No. This god promised Feng Ge to protect you. Yi Qing Luo's face collapsed as she spoke in a slightly coquettish tone as she hugged Bloodbone Barbaric King's arm and shook it. Uncle Bone, the only person I trust the most is you. Moreover, the World Group's brothers all know you. Go and tell them, the credibility will be higher. She raised her head and continued, I'm at the Feng Manor. Zomo reminds you, please add me to your collection after reading it. Read it again. It's easier to read it later. I'm not going anywhere. With Grandpa by my side and little uncle protecting me, what are you worried about? If worst comes to worst, you can just go and come back quickly. The barbaric Bloodbone King's attitude was very firm. But he couldn't resist the girl's coquettish offensive. In the end, he still agreed with a dark expression. Moreover, it was true. Leave quickly and return quickly. Therefore, after agreeing, he directly left the Feng Manor and headed down to the lower realm. He was simply the representative of action. But, no one discovered it. While the barbaric Bloodbone King was acting coquettishly towards Yi Qing Luo, the two of them exchanged glances. His eyes were filled with deep scheming and deep meaning. Very shallow. Very quickly. There was no way to detect it. Yi Qing Luo looked at the barbaric Bloodbone King's departing figure as she sat back next to Feng family patriarch. Uncle Bone, help me pass the message and I'll be assured. I'll stay in the Feng Manor to accompany Grandpa. Chapter 4807. Feng Liqiong also looked at Bloodbone Barbarian King's departing figure. After a long time, he retracted his gaze and looked at Yi Qing Luo. Qing Luo, stay in the Feng Manor peacefully, with Uncle around. Uncle will not let anyone bully you. The young girl's charming eyes were curved. Her pupils, which were as clear as water, rippled with an unreal light. Blinking again, the young lady's eyes were filled with trust. I have always believed in Uncle. Feng Liqiong smiled. Then she hurriedly left. Feng family's patriarch saw Yi Qing Luo staring at Feng Liqiong's back. He thought she was worried about the matter with the 5 aristocrats, so he comforted her. Don't think so much, leave everything to your uncle. Yi Qing Luo turned back with a smile and held the old man's arm, leaning her head on his shoulder intimately. Grandfather and uncle's relationship is really good. He is grandfather's only son. The old man's eyes were kind as he smiled lightly. He has been by your mother's side since he was young. As for me, I have not fulfilled the responsibility of a father. I always thought that with your mother taking care of him, it was enough. His gaze gradually turned gentle, later on. After Xiaoge passed away, I was sad, but he felt worse than me. He was depressed for a long time. He could tell. Grandfather really cared about Feng Liqiong. Very much. Family. Yiqing Luo rubbed her head on his shoulder. Grandfather still has me, I will take care of grandfather on behalf of my mother. Feng family's patriarch smiled and touched her head. My biggest wish is for you to live peacefully. Night. Yiqing Luo had just coaxed grandfather to sleep and returned to her own room. Her but hadn't even warmed up yet. Urgent footsteps were heard outside the door. Following that, Feng Liqiong rushed over with a serious face. Qing Luo. I've caught the black-clothed man who killed the important members of the 5 noble families. Yiqing Luo's gaze was fixed on him for a while. Under the moonlight, that pair of glass-like pupils seemed to be covered with a layer of thick black fog. Feng Liqiong inexplicably felt flustered. He frowned and tried to call out, Qing Luo? Uncle. The young lady's clear voice, with a unique coquettish tone. She stood up. The moonlight poured down. Her fiery red dress seemed to be plated with a layer of silver light. It made the young girl look like a moonlight goddess stepping on the moon. Holy and elegant, unattainable. Feng Liqiong didn't know if she was imagining things. Why do I feel like, tonight's Yiqing Luo was a little strange. However, he couldn't tell what was strange about it. In the next moment, the young girl was already in front of him. Her beautiful face was reflected in his eyes at close range. Then, little uncle, is my suspicion cleared? Feng Liqiong calmed herself down. Didn't you say that you saw that man in black? Uncle wants to invite you to take a look to see if it's that black-robed man, in case there's an imposter in the dark. He paused for a moment before explaining, according to what you said, that black-clothed man is strong enough to kill 5 important members of the 5 great aristocratic families. He shouldn't be easily captured by us, so, Yiqing Luo nodded, sure. The girl's reply was rather decisive. Her bellyful of persuasion was swallowed back. Feng Liqiong was slightly stunned and immediately gave a smile. Qing Luo, don't worry, uncle will definitely protect you. Chapter 4808. Feng Liqiong hurriedly said, then let's go. Yiqing Luo walked out of the room and closed the door. Suddenly, as if she had thought of something, she smiled at Feng Liqiong. It's already so late, I should greet grandfather. Father should be asleep already. Don't wake him up. Feng Liqiong smiled. Go and identify it. Uncle will send you back immediately. It won't take long. Yiqing Luo's exquisite brows didn't reveal much emotion. She didn't resist at all, and obediently followed behind Feng Liqiong. Once they left the Phoenix mansion, a horse carriage was waiting outside. Yiqing Luo boarded the carriage. The curtains of the carriage fell. It was pitch black in front of him. The carriage sped forward at a high speed, but there was no wind. Yiqing Luo straightened up slightly and stretched out her fingers to lift the curtains of the carriage. However, the 2 curtains of the car window were tightly sealed. Yiqing Luo nodded her head in interest. In the darkness, that pair of shimmering eyes was even more resplendent than before. She leaned back. Her expression was calm and indifferent. However, her pink and tender lips parted slightly as she spoke in a gentle voice. Little uncle, why does it seem like the curtain of my carriage is sealed shut? Feng Liqiong's voice could be heard from outside the carriage. It's very windy outside, be careful not to catch a cold. Don't worry, uncle will always be by your side. Yiqing Luo responded and didn't say another word. About half an hour passed. The carriage gradually came to a halt. The curtains of the carriage were lifted. Feng Liqiong came over to support Yiqing Luo. After jumping off the carriage, Yiqing Luo discovered that this was an extremely desolate cage land. From the looks of it, it should be a place specially used to imprison the sinners of the god world. The air was filled with a thick, bloody and cold aura. Don't be afraid. Uncle is here. Feng Liqiong saw Yi Qing Luo sizing up the surroundings and gave her an amiable smile. Uncle is in charge of this place, no one can hurt you. Yi Qing Luo's eyes were filled with trust as she nodded her head vigorously. I know, Uncle will protect me. Feng Liqiong led her into the cell. Along the way, they could hear countless heart-wrenching screams. Some were insulting, some were fearful, some were begging for mercy, and so on. All kinds of voices were mixed together. Especially when Feng Liqiong walked in. The people who were locked up in cages made of special materials almost madly rushed to the cages, shouting at them. It was incomparably crazy. Yi Qing Luo lowered her head slightly, as though she was afraid of such an environment. However, he kept glancing left and right from the corner of his eye. He memorized the faces of the people who were screaming crazily in the cage. Not long after, Feng Liqiong brought her to a spacious, dark room. The stone door closed. Almost all the sounds outside had been isolated. A luminous pearl was placed on a stone table not far away, illuminating the entire dark room. In the dark room, there was a man in a black robe hanging on a wooden stake in front of him. His body was bound by countless iron chains. At this moment, it was hanging there lifelessly. Apart from that, there was nothing else on the stone table where the luminous pearl was placed. Feng Liqiong stretched out her hand and made a please gesture towards Yi Qing Luo. Qing Luo, take a look, is this the black-robed man you saw? Yi Qing Luo stood on the same spot, not moving at all. Qing Luo. Feng Liqiong felt a little strange as he pulled Yi Qing Luo's arm. Come over and take a look, don't be afraid, Uncle is here. Yi Qing Luo slowly struggled free from Feng Liqiong's hand. Her brows rose slightly as her gaze fell onto that black-robed man as she slowly shook her head. No need to go over and take a look, it's not him. Chapter 4809. It's not him? Feng Liqiong's expression congealed as his brows creased tightly. When his gaze fell onto the young lady's face, his pupils constricted abruptly. The expression on his face was no longer as kind and amiable as before. Slowly, it turned cold. He looked at the young lady. Under the luminous pearl's light, the young lady's porcelain white face was indifferent and calm. Her long and narrow eyes rose slightly as it curled into a mocking cold arc. The brilliance in her eyes was like a sea of stars, even more resplendent than the luminous pearl. Where was there any? The innocent look of a delicate little girl who trusted her uncle wholeheartedly? And at this moment, the young lady met Feng Liqiong's gradually cold eyes. Her pink lips curled slightly as she casually said word by word, isn't it you? What are you talking about? Feng Liqiong's eyes changed slightly as her heart inexplicably jumped. Yi Qing Luo cooperated as her pink lips curled into a faint cold arc as she repeated, the black-robed man that I saw that day, isn't it? You? Feng Liqiong went silent. She didn't speak for a long time. No denial. At this juncture, it was considered as a tacit agreement. Yi Qing Luo didn't speak either. She just stood calmly at the entrance of the dark room. Dressed in a fiery red dress, in this dark room, she was like an extremely dazzling rose in full bloom. Bright and eye-catching. There wasn't much emotion on her face. Not like she was afraid. And not flustered. As though she already had a foolproof plan in her heart. Or as though she had the confidence to not fear anyone. Such a Yi Qing Luo. It was the Feng Liqiong who had never seen her in the Feng family, or rather, in the god realm. After a long time, a light sneer came out from Feng Liqiong's thin lips. He laughed lightly. That handsome face revealed a cold murderous intent. You, how did you know? Face, it was still that face. But the entire temperament had undergone an earth-shattering change. Feng Liqiong had shed his benevolence, his amiability. From head to toe, he revealed an evil cold temperament. As though he was immersed in the darkness, filled with malevolence. Such a change did not cause the expression on the girl's face to change in the slightest. She still had a faint smile on her face, and her eyes were slightly raised. He really couldn't tell what exactly she was feeling at this moment. He seemed to be expressionless. It also seemed to be a taunt. Yiqing Luo replied nonchalantly, "Why doesn't little uncle continue to pretend?" "That's right. Our Qing Luo is so smart, even if uncle continues to pretend." In Qing Luo's eyes, "I'm afraid it's just a joke." Feng Liqiong leaned forward, an oppressive aura came crashing down. Yiqing Luo took 2 steps back. She slowly raised her eyes, her gaze as calm as water. "Little uncle, you don't want to talk anymore?" Feng Liqiong's eyes were like torches, like a venomous snake, tightly wrapped around the young girl. It was as if he wanted to see through the girl's soul. He wanted to know what his opponent's trump card was. However, no matter how he looked at it, the girl was always so indifferent. Feng Liqiong's eyes sunk slightly, and then moved away, withdrawing the aura that was released from her body. "Qing Luo really has the demeanor of sister in the past, looking at you. Really makes me think of sister." Yiqing Luo's slender white fingers slowly touched her own face, smiling sweetly. "It's all thanks to this face, which is similar to mother's, that I can live till now. Little uncle's feelings for mother is really enviable." Chapter 48:10. Yiqing Luo's lower lip curled up, her eyes were half squinted without much emotion. Feng Liqiong only felt that the young lady's tone was full of sarcasm. He frowned, restrained his smile and asked sternly, "When did you find out?" Yiqing Luo's fingertips slid to her chin and gently knocked on it, with a calm look, "It seems I knew it from the beginning." "How is that possible?" Feng Liqiong's brows knitted even tighter. "Where did I go wrong? Made you suspect me?" Yiqing Luo chuckled, "Uncle's most fatal mistake is that you are too confident." She raised her chin and explained word by word. "Actually, since I came to the God realm and was sent to the 100-flower garden, I have been suspicious of the so-called acting God Emperor. Of course, at first I didn't know that the acting God Emperor was my uncle. You knew my identity long ago, and had already determined that I was from your Feng family, so you have been scheming against me from the beginning." Yiqing Luo paused for a moment, her eyes faintly and silently looked at Feng Liqiong. "I know, now you want to ask me, how did I know you were scheming against me?" Yiqing Luo moved her fingertips and took out a piece of jade pendant. That was used to stabilize her movement in the God realm, so that she could get used to the heaven and earth chi. How could an acting God Emperor not know that I, a person from the lower realm, will fall into a coma when I reach the God realm? Then he handed me over to a God realm playboy, Ji Wuhua. Because the acting God Emperor was very clear that Ji Wuhua would definitely stand on the acting God Emperor's point of view and send me to the safest 100-flower garden. And because the young lady's pink lips smiled with a bit of ridicule, her narrow eyes revealed a bit of sharp cold light, because Ji Wuhua's room is connected to the back garden of the Feng residence. And coincidentally, the acting God Emperor had something to deal with and asked me to stay in the God realm for a night. It was such a coincidence that I ended up staying in that room. And coincidentally, that night, that room overflowed with heaven and earth chi, causing me to open the door of the dark room and come to the Feng residence. The girl's every word. The expression on Feng Liqiong's face gradually became more and more interesting. After a while, he burst into laughter. "How do you know that this isn't a coincidence? Although everyone in the 100 Garden is Ji Wuhua's harem, it's impossible for no one to cultivate the profound rank, so, this room is so rich in heaven and earth spirit chi, how could a profound practitioner not discover this place?" Yiqing Luo indifferently tilted her head, "So, I can only say that all these designs and plans, the purpose is to let me return to the Feng family. After that, when I was kidnapped by the 5 aristocratic families, I could roughly guess that the person behind the scenes was the acting Divine Emperor. I didn't expose him because I wanted to figure out the purpose of the acting Divine Emperor. Therefore, when you appeared at the exit in a black robe, I already knew that you were the acting divine emperor. When Yiqing Luo said this, she paused slightly. She chuckled softly, then, in the Feng manner, you appeared. Yiqing Luo's pink lips lightly spat out a few words. The acting divine emperor, my uncle, wanted to get my trust, to let me believe you unconditionally. When I found out that my uncle was the acting divine emperor, my heart was really very sad. Chapter 48:11. The expression on Feng Liqiong's face was very strange. The way she looked at Yiqing Luo was also very strange. Why did this young lady look so calm? She had already guessed everything. But she was able to put up a show with him calmly. What kind of psychological quality did she have to be able to do this? Obviously, she was just a 15-year-old young lady. Feng Liqiong gazed deeply at the young lady. There was a cold glint in her eyes. She seemed to be pondering. What kind of environment did Yiqing Luo grow up until now? To have such a strong psychological quality? Feng Liqiong had to admit. This young lady was indeed Feng Ji's daughter. Such a stubborn temper. Exactly the same. Or perhaps, compared to Feng Gu, this young lady was even more outstanding. Feng Liqiong's throat moved. After a long while, a hoarse voice spat out a sentence. You deliberately disguised yourself, to beat me at my own game, to make me self-explode, right? That's not it. The young lady's voice still had her unique sweetness, the same tone as usual. When she acted coquettishly, Uncle wants to put up a show, so I cooperated with him. Such a tone. And the young lady's brilliant smile. Lin Fan's pupils constricted slightly. He stared at her, his voice deep. You're not afraid? Of course not. Yiqing Luo shook her head smilingly. You are my uncle, and you will not really hurt me. Why should I be afraid? Feng Liqiong laughed. How can you be sure that I will not hurt you? Yiqing Luo's slender fingers touched her chin, replying seriously, because uncle cares about grandfather. It wasn't easy for grandfather to find me. If I'm injured or something happens to me, it will definitely be a huge blow to grandfather. She smiled, her eyes curved, so, uncle can't bear to see grandfather sad. Heh. The young lady's analysis made Feng Liqiong couldn't help but snort lightly. You're quite sure? Of course. I have my own trump card. Yiqing Luo was still smiling. Feng Liqiong raised her brows. Trump card? Naturally, I can't bet everything on little uncle's feelings for grandfather. I can't bet on little uncle's humanity. Yiqing Luo's words were very direct. Of course I have my own trump card. If little uncle loses his humanity, wouldn't I be in danger? Feng Liqiong laughed again, as she stared at Yiqing Luo's gaze, filled with a probing and sizing expression. What's your trump card? If I tell you now, it won't be called a trump card anymore. Yiqing Luo casually waved her hand. Under the bright light of the luminous pearl, the young lady's beauty had a hazy charm. Feng Liqiong's eyes were deep and unblinking as she stared at her. He seemed to be thinking about something. Yiqing Luo crossed her arms in front of her chest again. Now, little uncle can tell me your motive? Feng Liqiong stared at her without blinking and did not answer her. There was silence for several breaths. Yiqing Luo turned around and headed towards the entrance of the dark room. The moment she moved. Swoosh! That black-robed man who was originally hanging on the wooden pole dragged the thick and solid iron chain as he speedily rushed towards Yiqing Luo. The black-robed man swiftly closed in, bringing along a piercing cold wind. In an instant, he blocked in front of Yiqing Luo, blocking Yiqing Luo's path. Yiqing Luo glanced at that man, paused her footsteps and turned to look at Feng Liqiong. Is little uncle going to use force on me? Chapter 48:12. Feng Liqiong glanced at the man. The black-robed man was silent for a moment. He slowly moved his body away. The iron chains that were dragged on the ground made crackling sounds in the quiet dark room. It was extremely ear-piercing. Yiqing Luo turned around once again as she pushed the dark room's door. This time, no one stopped him. But Yi Qing Luo wasn't able to push that stone door open. She pushed twice. Seeing that the stone door wouldn't budge at all, he decided not to push it anymore. He turned to Feng Liqiong and said, "Little uncle isn't willing to tell us what he's here for, nor is he willing to let me leave. Let's just stand here and waste time." Her pink lips curled into a sweet smile. "In any case, when grandfather wakes up and realizes that I'm not in the room, he'll definitely remember that I was kidnapped by the 5 aristocratic families a few days ago. At that time, if he's provoked, you'll have to take full responsibility." Feng Liqiong's eyes darkened. Flicking her sleeve, she turned and walked back to the only stone table in the room. He shot a glance at Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo didn't hesitate as she walked over directly and sat opposite Feng Liqiong. On the table, there was a jar of wine and several upside-down wine bowls. After Yi Qing Luo sat down, she directly picked up the wine bowls and poured 2 bowls of wine, placing 1 bowl in front of each of them. "Come, let's chat while we drink. I'm also rather curious, to make the acting god emperor personally go down to the sea, what is it exactly?" The girl finished the bowl of wine in one breath. She was so forthright that she didn't seem like a woman at all. Feng Liqiong held the bowl of wine in her hand and remained motionless. "Aren't you afraid that the wine is poisoned? If it was poisonous, you would have stopped me long ago." Yi Qing Luo poured another bowl of wine. "If little uncle wants to kill me, there are plenty of opportunities. There's no need to go through so much trouble." Feng Liqiong chuckled again. He picked up the bowl of wine and drained it in one gulp. His gaze was fixated on the young girl without blinking. There was a momentary daze in his eyes. It seemed to be through the girl. She thought of her mother, Feng Gu. Yi Qing Luo didn't open her mouth to interrupt his recollection. At this moment, Feng Liqiong thought more about her mother. Perhaps it would allow him to retain some of his humanity. If Feng Liqiong's bestial nature were to explode, she would be in danger. Even if he had a trump card, he still had to be careful. Yi Qing Luo continued pouring wine and drinking. He even refilled Feng Liqiong's cup. The two of them were silent. One bowl after another, they drank 3 bowls. Feng Liqiong then put down the wine bowl. "Qing Luo is so smart, you should have guessed my motive, isn't that so?" "This. I really can't guess." The young girl shook her head and propped up her chin with one hand. "Little uncle thinks too highly of me. There are things that I can't guess." Feng Liqiong's gaze was fixed on the young girl's. He did not beat around the bush and stated his purpose word by word. "Feng. Jia. Zhen. Bao." This answer. It was unexpected, but it was also expected. After all, the reason why the 5 great nobles and the black-robed man, Feng Liqiong, had gone through so much trouble was for the so-called treasure of the Feng family. But it was unexpected because Feng Liqiong was a member of the Feng family. She should also know that the so-called Feng family's treasure was just a rumor. However, Feng Liqiong truly believed in the existence of the Feng family's treasure. Then, there was only one reason. Grandfather also lied to her. Or perhaps, the Feng family's treasure really existed. But even grandfather himself didn't know about it. Otherwise Feng Liqiong wouldn't have schemed in such a way just for a so-called treasure. Chapter 48:13. Yi Qing Luo's thoughts whirled around. But he said, "Didn't grandfather say that this is just a rumor of the Feng family? As a Feng family member, you actually believe in such a rumor?" Feng Liqiong's gaze sunk. "Do you really think that's just a rumor?" He scoffed lightly. The fingers holding the wine cup tightened slightly. "There's no smoke without fire. If the Feng family is really clean, then there wouldn't be such a rumor." He picked up the wine jar and filled the bowl to the brim. But he wasn't in a hurry to drink, but stared at Yi Qing Luo faintly. "The Feng family has a treasure, and that treasure, only you can find it." Yi Qing Luo raised her brows, as she carefully thought over every word that Feng Liqiong said. She squinted her eyes slightly. An undetectable glint flashed past her eyes. "Uncle, why do you say so?" she asked. Feng Liqiong lifted the wine cup, placed it to his lips, and said word by word, "Because, you are my sister's daughter." When her words fell, he drank the wine, in one gulp. Immediately, it fell heavily onto the stone table. The wine cup and the stone table made a loud collision sound. The expression on his face gradually became a little twisted and strange. "Even if my Feng family's second young master is my sister's biological brother, I still can't get everything from the Feng family. She thinks of you in everything, everything about you." Feng Liqiong suddenly hammered the stone table heavily. The expression on his face became violent. "Obviously, you are just a bastard. A bastard whose father doesn't even know who he is. What right do you have to get her approval? That treasure, only you know. Sister must have told you the whereabouts of the treasure. Qing Luo, this is what you owe uncle. Quick, tell uncle the whereabouts of the treasure, and compensate uncle." He muttered softly, as if he was possessed by a demon. Such a crazy side. She had completely lost her usual kind and elegant demeanor. Qing Luo didn't move, nor did she have any intention to be afraid. She just sat there quietly, allowing Feng Liqiong to vent his anger. But, on the surface, she looked so calm and indifferent. But in her heart, it was already a storm. Bastard, these two words pierced deeply into Qing Luo's heart. From the memories of the blood-bone barbarian king, Qing Luo could probably imagine her mother's melodramatic love story. His mother got pregnant before marriage. Not long after she was born, she encountered a dangerous situation. He had no choice but to hand her over to the care of the blood-bone barbarian king. From the start to the end, Qing Luo had not seen where her so-called father was. Why, Feng Liqiong was certain that the Feng family had that treasure. And the whereabouts of the treasure must be with her? Also, what do you mean by compensation? What did she owe him? Qing Luo. Suddenly, Feng Liqiong grabbed Qing Luo's arm with both her hands, as she stared at her with a crazed gaze. "Uncle doesn't have any other requests, as long as you tell uncle the whereabouts of the Feng family's treasures. Everything that we have can return to how it was originally. We can pretend that nothing has happened. You are still my adorable and ignorant Qing Luo, and I will still be your little uncle." The grip on his shoulder was a little heavy. Qing Luo frowned slightly, but didn't struggle free, only replying in a serious tone, "I don't know what you're talking about." Perhaps it was the words, "don't know," that agitated him. Feng Liqiong suddenly stood up. The expression on his face revealed a sinister viciousness. "Qing Luo, uncle doesn't want to use brute force on you." Chapter 48-14. Qing Luo pursed her lips as her eyes met Feng Liqiong's crazed gaze without blinking. On the phone, she could smell the strong smell of alcohol on Feng Liqiong. But she wasn't afraid of Feng Liqiong's vicious aura, or showing a timid expression towards Feng Liqiong. She was still as calm as usual. Her expression was calm and indifferent. She allowed Feng Liqiong to tighten her grip on her shoulders, her strength increasing. The two of them just like that. There was silence for a long while. Feng Liqiong released Ji Yunshu's arms and sat down on the stone bench. His breathing was rapid. The haze on his face had not dispersed. His eyes were overflowing with vicious aura, as though he was suppressing his own emotions. "Uncle, if I knew what you are talking about, I wouldn't be sitting in front of you now." Qing Luo saw him calm down and spoke calmly. "I knew you had a problem. If I knew about the so-called Feng family's treasure, it wouldn't be yours." Feng Liqiong pressed both hands on the stone table. "Think carefully. Do you have anything special on you? Or that bone lord, is there any clue on him? Or rather, is there anything particularly deep in your memory?" Feng Liqiong asked several questions consecutively. It was as if he had been possessed. Qing Luo stared deeply at the crazy man in front of her, unable to describe the feeling in her heart. This man was her uncle. In fact, she did not feel much malice from her youngest uncle. Her uncle's feelings towards her grandfather was definitely not fake. He was actually a sentimental person. But his obsession had already made him unable to walk out of it. That Feng family's treasure, what on earth was it? Until Feng Liqiong stopped the barrage of questions. Yiqing Luo then took a deep breath. I really can't recall. Perhaps the last hope had been shattered. Feng Liqiong let out a sudden roar. His hands suddenly scattered the wine jars and bowls on the table onto the ground. He was like a raging beast, roaring with the anger in his heart. You don't know, how could you not know that woman, the person she cares about the most is that beast in human form, even if you are that beast's child, she would still care about you. When that woman died, all she thought about was that you had arranged everything for you, but she never thought about me, never. Feng Liqiong's voice was hoarse as she howled in anger. His eyes were scarlet red as he stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. It was as if he was going to destroy the world. A sinister murderous aura burst forth. Obviously. I am the person closest to her. I am the person with the highest talent. Why can't everything be mine? Why should I take care of you for her? That beast with a human face, the daughter of the enemy who killed my Feng family. She treasured you so much. She left everything to you. How could she not leave the opportunity of the Divine Emperor's inheritance to you? You must know where the Feng family's treasure is. You must know the Divine Emperor's inheritance. Feng Liqiong suddenly dashed towards Yiqing Luo. One hand clasped onto Yiqing Luo's neck. His tone was sinister and cold. Qing Luo, quickly tell your uncle where that woman hid the Feng family's treasure. As long as you get the Divine Emperor's inheritance and become the real Emperor of the Divine Emperors, you will definitely bring that woman to treat you as your own biological daughter and treat you well. Tipping Chi 100000 book coins for the 10th wave. Now she was still short of the chief of the alliance. End of this chapter. Trash 7th Young Miss, Overlord, please be gentler. Chapter 48-15. Feng Liqiong had used quite a bit of strength. Yiqing Luo's neck felt a little painful. The two of them were very close. Yiqing Luo could clearly see the frenzied whirlpool in Feng Liqiong's eyes, as though it was going to swallow up all his rationality. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. She slowly lifted her fair hand and placed it on the back of the hand on her neck. These hands. Before today, it was full of tolerance and warmth. But at this moment, there was a thin layer of sweat on it. You must know, the Feng family's treasure. You must know. That woman loved that beast so much. You're that person's daughter, there's no way she wouldn't tell you. The more Feng Liqiong spoke, the more deranged she became. He tightened his grip on the young girl's neck. I know. Could it be that beast also looked for you? That beast, he didn't want you to tell me, right? Yiqing Luo's face turned slightly red. She tugged at Feng Liqiong's hand and frowned. Little uncle. Calm down. The words squeezed out from between his teeth with great difficulty. But Feng Liqiong couldn't hear it. Feng Liqiong seemed to have fallen into a trance. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. As though he had seen someone through Yiqing Luo. A certain person whom he hated the most. Yiqing Luo's pink lips pursed tightly. Just as Feng Liqiong was about to go crazy and try to strangle her to death. She raised her slender, white fingers. A flaming red fan spun from the girl's fingertips. The feather fan pressed against Feng Liqiong's chest. In the meantime, bang! There was a deafening noise. The stone door of the secret room was blasted open. A group of more than 30 people rushed in. The person who was supposed to head to the lower realm to pass on Yiqing Luo's message, blood, bone, barbarian, king. Then, it was a team of Feng family's secret guards. Then, the elderly master of the Feng family walked in step by step with the help of Granny Feng. After seeing the situation in the dark room, Patriarch Feng's face suddenly turned pale. At this moment, Feng Liqiong was still clutching Yi Qing Luo's neck. The ferocious expression on his face had yet to fade. That look seemed as though he wanted to kill Yi Qing Luo. Patriarch Feng shouted angrily, "Feng Liqiong! What are you doing?" This angry roar. Feng Liqiong shuddered and came back to her senses. Something pressed against his chest, and he felt a cold sensation. He lowered his eyes. He saw the girl's feather fan. "You," before he could say anything. Feng Liqiong felt her body go limp. His hands slipped away from the young girl's neck and softly fell to the ground. His face was aghast as he struggled to raise his hands and prop himself up. But the feeling of powerlessness in his body made him unable to even move his body. Feng Liqiong's heart skipped a beat. "You, what did you do to me? He will become like this." Chapter 48:16. Feng Liqiong fell limply onto the ground. Her eyes went past Patriarch Feng and stared at Yi Qing Luo. Seemingly unable to understand. Why did she fall into Yi Qing Luo's trap? "You vile creature! Why are you still staring at little Luo?" Patriarch Feng was infuriated as he lifted his leg to kick Feng Liqiong. "How can you be an uncle?" Feng Liqiong's eyes gradually returned to normal. That kick from Patriarch Feng wasn't light at all. But Feng Liqiong didn't even reveal a hint of pain. "Why?" he asked in a hoarse voice. It went without saying who this question was directed at. Patriarch Feng saw that he didn't know how to repent and completely ignored himself. He was so angry that his face turned red as he lifted his leg to kick again. Yi Qing Luo hurriedly went forward and held the old man's body. "Grandfather, don't be angry. I will be sad if you hurt your health." Her sweet voice soothed the anger in the old man's heart. "Little Luo, it's grandfather's fault, grandfather. Failed to protect you." Patriarch Feng held the young lady's arm as his voice trembled. If it wasn't for Bone Lord's appearance in his room, telling him that little Luo might be in danger. Perhaps until now, he still wouldn't know Feng Liqiong's true colors. The person who kidnapped little Luo was actually Feng Liqiong. The more Patriarch Feng thought about it, the more uncomfortable he felt. Yi Qing Luo comforted him in a gentle voice. "I'm really fine, grandfather. Actually, I knew that uncle was the mastermind behind my kidnapping. I followed him here because I believe in him." She held the old man's hand and placed it beside her face. "See, I'm really fine, uncle didn't hurt me at all." "You're still speaking for that bastard." The more obedient the young lady was, the more guilty Patriarch Feng felt. Earlier scene, I saw it clearly. Once they barged into the dark room. What she saw was Feng Liqiong madly strangling the young lady's neck. That crazy and malevolent face. As though she wanted to strangle Yi Qing Luo to death. Yi Qing Luo shook her head. Her eyes were gentle. "Uncle can't hurt me." She let go of the old man and slowly walked towards Feng Liqiong, squatting down to support him. He had yet to meet Feng Liqiong. The old man frantically pulled her back. "Little Luo, don't go over there. Little uncle can't hurt me in the slightest now." Yi Qing Luo gave the elderly a comforting smile. "I naturally can't bear to let grandfather be sad for me, so. Even if I believe in youngest uncle, before I came, I had already made full preparations." She patted the back of Feng clan master's hand. He stepped forward and helped Feng Liqiong up. Feng Liqiong's body was limp and boneless. The minute Yi Qing Luo moved, her entire body's weight pressed onto her. He was her son after all. No matter how angry Feng clan master was, he was also distressed. His heart ached for Yi Qing Luo, worried that she would be suppressed by Feng Liqiong. He immediately ordered his men to help him up. Yi Qing Luo had just loosened her grip when Feng Liqiong suddenly grabbed onto the young lady's arm. What did you do to me?" Feng Liqiong asked with great difficulty. Even now, he still could not understand. When on earth did he fall into Yi Qing Luo's trap? Most importantly, how could Yi Qing Luo possibly hurt him? You vile spawn, what else do you want to do? Feng clan master saw that Feng Liqiong still wanted to make a move on Yiqing Luo and immediately pulled the young lady behind him to protect her. Feng Liqiong stood in front of the young lady. Feng Liqiong's vision followed closely. Baidu read the latest chapter of Waste 7th Young Miss, Overlord, lightly tap Love Claw Machine Bookstore, for free. Chapter 48:17. Nothing. Yiqing Luo supported him with one hand and comforted him. I told you, I have a trump card. She smiled and explained in a gentle voice, since I already knew your identity, how could I not guard against you? I asked Uncle Bone to help me pass the message, it was just a show for you. Uncle Bone had never left my side since the beginning, he was just hiding in the dark. Because I know, once Uncle Bone is not around, you will definitely take the opportunity to set up a trap. As it turned out, her guess was right. After the barbaric Blood Bone King left, Feng Liqiong took action. The barbaric Blood Bone King had been following them secretly. He immediately informed the Feng family's patriarch and sought help from the Feng family's secret guards to break into Feng Liqiong's territory. Apart from these trump cards, Yiqing Luo's words paused for a moment before she continued, when little uncle was investigating me, didn't he know that I am a medicine master? Especially an expert in poison. In addition, she had been in contact with the Miao Gu family and the Wu Gu family for a long time. She had some understanding of Gu-related things. Combining these two things to refine a poison. Even if it was someone from the god realm, it was enough to give him a hard time. When did you? After being poisoned, he actually didn't feel it at all. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes curved slightly, just when I suggested to return to the lower realm. She tilted her head, because there were so many people and you weren't on guard against me. It was actually very easy to poison you. That poison didn't take effect immediately. It needed to be stimulated through a certain acupuncture point. Just now, when Feng Liqiong was strangling his neck, she took the glower flame fan and knocked on Feng Liqiong's chest. It stimulated Feng Liqiong's poison. Fortunately you knew. Feng Liqiong didn't blame Yiqing Luo at all. Instead, he heaved a sigh of relief. If it wasn't for his granddaughter who already knew Feng Liqiong's motive. If he hadn't arrived in time. This granddaughter he had finally found, wouldn't it be? Feng Liqiong didn't even dare to think about it. Yiqing Luo's eyes curved as she smiled lightly. I'm mother's daughter, grandfather must believe in me. Looking at the girl in front of him, who had clearly experienced such a dangerous and heart-wrenching thing, at this moment, was smiling sweetly and softly comforting his emotions. She looked so obedient. Feng clan mistress couldn't help but soften her heart a little. He heaved a long sigh as he gently held Yiqing Luo's hand. His emotions had also calmed down as he looked at Feng Liqiong. You on earth, why did you do this? Feng Liqiong was helped to sit on a stone bench at the side. His body was still weak and powerless. His face was pale. However, that pair of slightly crazed and ruthless eyes did not lose the slightest bit of dignity. The power of the acting divine emperor caused the surrounding air to freeze. He chuckled softly. He looked at Feng clan master amusedly, but his eyes were full of anger and unwillingness. Why, you ask me why? He snorted softly. I really want to ask you, do you ever treat me as your son? The man's handsome face revealed a bit of craziness and a bit of ridicule. He leaned on the stone table as he laughed loudly. Since young, the only person you could see was sister. No matter where you go, only sister is worthy of your pride. Obviously. I'm the eldest son of the Feng family. I'm the one who should inherit the Feng family. Baidu read the latest chapter of Trash 7th Young Miss, Overlord, lightly tap on my beloved claw machine bookstore, for free. Chapter 48:18. Chapter name, Feng Liqiong's Inner Pain, listening to Feng Liqiong's words. Feng family's patriarch's expression changed slightly. You have been coveting Xiao Ji's position? The old man's voice was trembling, as if he couldn't believe it. Feng Liqiong sneered, "What do you mean coveting? That should be my position. My talent is not worse than my sister. Why can she get the God Emperor's inheritance, while I am isolated?" Feng Liqiong smiled, both hands on the stone table, and raised his head. "The position of the God Emperor should belong to me." Feng Liqiong was shocked. He couldn't imagine that his own son had been coveting the position of the God Emperor. "Feng family patriarch, your sister. She is so good to you, everything you have is taught by her, how can you think of her like this?" Heh. Feng Liqiong couldn't help but sneer at this point. He stared at Feng family patriarch, laughing coldly and sarcastically. "She taught me? She is obviously afraid of my talent, afraid that I will take away the position that belongs to her. So she deliberately suppressed all my talent. We are both children of the Feng family. My talent, my strength, is obviously more suitable than her to become the God Emperor. But in the end, the person who was chosen by the God Emperor is her. It's her. She used some insidious and cunning method to make me lose the chance to become the God Emperor. You." Feng family patriarch clutched his chest, breathing rapidly. Feng Liqiong looked crazy. "The most hateful thing is, since she has taken away the position that belongs to me. But she doesn't pay for her position. She's selfish and only thinks of herself, knowing that she will inherit the position of the God Emperor in the future, knowing that she shouldn't be moved. But because of that bastard, that beast, she threw away her identity. That bastard, that beast. How many wrong things did she do? If she is not the God Emperor, what she did is enough for the people of the God realm to tear her into pieces." Feng Liqiong stared at the cold-looking blood-bone barbaric king standing next to Yiqing Luo. And you, sinner. He had once used that kind of evil forbidden technique to kill so many people from the divine world. You should have been executed and your soul scattered, never to be reincarnated. She, on the other hand, used her position as the divine emperor to fake your death and deceive the world. She doesn't deserve to be a God Emperor. She doesn't deserve to be the God Emperor." Feng Liqiong shouted hoarsely, venting all the resentment she had buried in her heart for a long time. He complained again and again about how Feng Gu had degraded herself for a man, even giving birth to Yiqing Luo. In the end, he was abandoned. In the end, she died because of that man. Do you see how peaceful the God realm is after I took over the position of God Emperor? There's no war, no forbidden technique, and no fighting. I am the most suitable person to be the Emperor of the Divine Emperors. As long as I can find what Big Sister left behind, the God Emperor's inheritance will surely acknowledge me. After Feng Liqiong's hysteria, his eyes looked crazily at Yiqing Luo. She definitely will. That thing is with you, hand it over and let me become the real God Emperor. He pounced towards Yiqing Luo as though he had gone mad. Vile spawn. Are you crazy? Feng family's patriarch immediately protected Yiqing Luo behind him. Baidu read the latest chapter of Waste 7th Young Miss, Overlord, lightly tap Love Claw Machine Bookstore, for free. Chapter 48-19. Little uncle doesn't really hate mother, but Feng Liqiong had yet to stand up. He fell limply onto the ground again. His whole body was weak and unable to support him to make a pouncing action. But Feng Liqiong's actions had completely infuriated Patriarch Feng. He had never thought that his own son's heart had accumulated so much dissatisfaction towards Feng Gu and the Feng family. That son who always liked to stick to Feng Ji's side, calling her sister. He actually had so much dissatisfaction towards Feng Gu. He had always thought that ever since Feng Liqiong became the acting God Emperor, she had done her best. It was because she wanted to protect this peace for Feng Gu. He had not expected. All he wanted was to compete with Feng Gu. How much anticipation he had for Feng Liqiong previously. How disappointed he was now. The entire dark room gradually quietened down. Only Feng Liqiong's heavy panting could be heard. Yiqing Luo looked at Feng Liqiong and then looked at Patriarch Feng. Her pink lips curled slightly as she said to Blood Bone Brute King, "Uncle Bone, help me lift little uncle up." "What little uncle? He doesn't deserve your title at all," Feng family master said angrily. "Is there anyone like him as an uncle? Don't call him little uncle. Doesn't he like to be the God Emperor? Let's call him the noble God Emperor. Our Feng family is not worthy of him." Feng Liqiong was furious. He stared at Feng Liqiong angrily, full of angry words. Yiqing Luo smiled as she helped the old man to sit on the stone bench. Feng Liqiong also sat opposite them under Blood Bone Brute King's help. Feng Liqiong sat down and stared angrily at Feng Liqiong as he turned his head away, not wanting to look at this son of his. Yiqing Luo patted the back of Feng Liqiong's hand lightly as her long and narrow eyes rippled with a faint light. Her pink lips curved upwards and there wasn't any trace of displeasure after being schemed against and hated by Feng Liqiong. Her smile was very elegant. The curve of her eyes was like a blooming rose, full of flames. Actually, little uncle doesn't really hate mother that much. Her eyebrows were picturesque, gentle and tranquil. If little uncle really hated mother, he wouldn't have remembered every detail of mother so clearly after such a long time. The girl's voice was soft and emotionless. However, his words were so light and airy. It pierced deeply into Feng Liqiong's heart. What little uncle is angry about is not that mother snatched the throne of the divine emperor but didn't pay for it. But little uncle is angering mother because she doesn't know how to love herself. The girl's hand followed the stone table and slowly rested on the back of Feng Liqiong's hand. That hand was very broad and very cold. He visibly stiffened when she touched him. Tight and tight, trying to avoid. But the girl's grip tightened. He didn't have the strength to break free. The girl's hand was very soft and small. It was the same when Feng Gu held his hand back then. Feng Liqiong stared at that fair little hand in a daze for a moment. Mother is crazy for love and uncle is actually more anxious than anyone else, more worried than anyone else. Yiqing Luo continued, "The reason why uncle is so angry is because mother has experienced so many things, but she still didn't open her mouth to ask you for help." From Feng Liqiong's hysteria, Yiqing Luo could hear it. How could he hate Feng Gu for snatching the throne of the divine emperor? He was obviously angry at Feng Ji's wrong choice. Angry at Feng Gu for disregarding his own status and risking his life for love. Baidu read the latest chapter of Waste 7th Young Miss, Overlord, lightly tap Love Claw Machine Bookstore for free. Chapter 48-20. If you want to blame, you can only blame the human heart. What had Feng Gu done in the past? Yiqing Luo didn't know. But she had seen those scenes in the blood-bone barbaric king's memory. She could tell how much her mother liked that man, whom she should address as father. As an elder sister who had always taken good care of him and was always there for him. After Feng Gu had a lover, she had no way to maintain the balance between her lover and her brother. Naturally, she would lean towards her lover's side. So, Feng Liqiong's heart started to feel unbalanced. In his eyes, the high and mighty, fairy-like sister had become an ordinary woman. It was like the feeling of a person standing at the top had fallen into a devil. Especially, that man didn't treat Feng Gu well. To make Feng Liqiong call him a beast. He must be a determined scumbag. And the kind of scumbag who had no friends. Otherwise, the last scene that Yiqing Luo saw in the blood-bone barbaric king's memory would not have happened. Feng Gu passed the little Qing Luo to the blood-bone barbaric king, apparently to hide from something. After that, Feng Gu passed away. She had been maintaining the state of a baby. Until now. There must have been many things that she and the blood-bone barbaric king didn't know about. In Feng Liqiong's heart, Feng Gu was the symbol of beauty and perfection. And the appearance of that man had destroyed the god in his heart, toppling his faith. So that extreme had become like this. He wanted to become the emperor of gods. Absolutely not because he thought that this position belonged to him. But he wanted to tell Feng Gu. Her previous decision was wrong. Totally wrong. Everyone listened to Yi Qing Luo's explanation for Feng Liqiong. Fell into a long silence. After some time, Patriarch Feng's hands trembled as he sighed helplessly, doomed fate. Doomed fate. This is the Feng family's calamity, Feng family's difficulties. He took a deep breath as his murky old eyes were filled with endless helplessness. Blame me, blame me, blame me for giving birth to you in the Feng family, blame me. Once you were born, you were the focus of attention and the people schemed against you. Father. Feng Liqiong listened to the old man's trembling words. He hurriedly raised his head. There was no longer any trace of the malevolence and terror on his face. He shook his head desperately. It's not your fault. If you want to blame someone, blame the human heart, the human heart. The father and son looked at each other, speechless. It was as if they were recalling the past together. Yi Qing Luo didn't say anything else to break the atmosphere between them. She quietly pulled the blood-bone barbarian king out of the dark room. After walking out of the dark room, the blood-bone barbarian king glanced sideways at her. Why? Don't you want to ask about what happened back then? Now is not the time. Yi Qing Luo shook her head. Grandfather and little uncle were too agitated. I'll ask him when I have the chance in the future. She raised her head and looked at the barbaric blood-bone king. Uncle Bone, do you know, who exactly is that man? It could be said. The appearance of the man. It was the calamity of the Feng family. That man destroyed the entire Feng family. The pupils of the barbaric blood-bone king shrunk slightly, and his expression became colder. A very ordinary person. If he's really ordinary, why would mother take a liking to him? Yi Qing Luo patted the barbaric blood-bone king's shoulder lightly. That man. Since he could enter mother's eyes, there must be a reason. If we can find out the reason, perhaps we will be able to know that man's motive for getting close to mother. Chapter 48-21. The only thing I can give you, purpose? Blood-bone barbaric king frowned. In his impression, that man, other than his face, was so ordinary that he couldn't be found even if he was thrown into the dust. Yi Qing Luo tilted her head, as her eyes curved into a smile which didn't look like a smile. Do you think that an ordinary man would appear beside mother who would always be surrounded by numerous secret guards, and make mother remember him and fall in love with him? When Yi Qing Luo said this, her long and narrow eyes drooped downwards as her pink lips curled into a cold arc, after creating so many troubles. Not only was he not affected at all, he was even able to leave unscathed under your eyelids. She chuckled softly. I don't believe that there's no ghost. Blood-bone barbaric king was stunned, the expression on his face congealed slightly. In the end, Feng Liqiong was carried back to the Feng family. Feng family patriarch didn't let Yi Qing Luo detoxify Feng Liqiong. He was left lying there like a cripple. Yi Qing Luo would visit Feng Liqiong's room from time to time every day. Feng Liqiong either ignored her or ridiculed her. Yi Qing Luo wasn't angry. If it was someone else. Yi Qing Luo definitely didn't have that kind of patience. Who asked the other party to be her uncle? What else could she do? Moreover, she was very clear about the reason why Feng Liqiong felt awkward whenever she saw her. The person Feng Liqiong hated the most was that beast who had ruined her sister. And she was that beast's daughter. Half of Yi Qing Luo's blood flowed from Feng Ji's body. But the other half was that beast's blood. Whenever Yi Qing Luo fell, Feng Liqiong would think of that man. In her heart, she hated her existence. Anne liked her existence. This kind of thing could only be smoothed over with time, so that Feng Liqiong could get used to her existence. Regarding the matter of the 5 great aristocrats being killed, Feng family patriarch used Feng Liqiong's illness as an excuse to take charge of this matter. Under Yiqing Luo's suggestion, improvements were made. She suppressed the 5 great aristocrats with harsh methods, and cleared the 5 great aristocrats of suspicion towards Yiqing Luo. She also took the opportunity to put Yiqing Luo's identity in the light. Of course, Feng family patriarch didn't point out that Yiqing Luo was the daughter of the former god emperor. She only announced to the public that she was Feng Liqiong's adopted daughter. After all, it had been too long. If there was a daughter of the former god emperor, it would easily cause a storm in the god realm. Other nobles or civilians, whether it was true or false, they naturally listened to Feng clan master's words and kept it in mind. Because the 5 great aristocrats had misunderstood that Yiqing Luo was related to the death of their important members, family patriarch doted on Feng love. So he volunteered to hold a recognition ceremony for Yiqing Luo. Feng family master also felt that he couldn't enter the Feng family as the real granddaughter of the Feng family. However, the reunion banquet was a must. Li Feng God Feng Didn said. Feng family. Yiqing Luo was stunned for a moment, then immediately raised her dimples and held Feng family's patriarch's arm. Grandfather, you don't have to be so troublesome. Even if there is no reunion banquet, I am still your granddaughter. I want to tell everyone in the god realm. You are one of us. Feng family patriarch Feng patted Yiqing Luo's hand. I know you don't want me to work hard. But I haven't been with you since you were young, nor did I give you anything. This is the only thing I can give you now. The old man's eyes were filled with love and warmth. Yiqing Luo saw it all. She pursed her lips and finally sighed, all right. Chapter 48-22. Sob sob sob, you're so vicious, seeing that Yiqing Luo agreed. The old man went to prepare for the reunion banquet in satisfaction. Yiqing Luo stared at the old man's back as he left. It took her some time before she retracted her gaze. Just as she moved, she saw the expressionless blood-bone barbaric king standing behind her. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up as she went forward. Uncle Bone. Blood-bone barbaric king stared at the face which was exactly the same as Feng Ji's. As his eyes deepened, you really intend to return to the Feng family? This reunion banquet. Even if it was announced to the public that Feng Liqiong had only acknowledged a goddaughter. But it was also true that Yiqing Luo was completely bound to the Feng family. In the future, no matter where Yiqing Luo went, everything was related to the Feng family's name. There were advantages and disadvantages. Yiqing Luo understood the deeper meaning of Bloodbone Barbaric King's words. She nodded, her long and narrow eyes rippling with a very faint light. I don't want to disappoint you again. Feng Liqiong's matter. The blow to the Feng family's patriarch would be huge. Even if she explained to Feng Liqiong later on, it could be seen as because she had placed too much importance on it, so it became extreme. But it couldn't erase the things that Feng Liqiong had done in order to become the true sovereign of gods. Finally, there was something that could divert grandfather's attention. And it could make him happy. Yiqing Luo naturally had no reason to reject. It was just as she had said. No matter if there was this reunion banquet. She was Feng Ji's daughter, the Feng family's granddaughter. This point would never change. Other than that, actually I have another reason. The girl's voice suddenly became a little lower. She raised her eyes, the emotions in her eyes were solemn. Seeing this, Bloodbone Barbaric King seemed to have formed a tacit understanding as he closed his eyes. He released his perception to sense the surrounding atmosphere. Until the maximum range of his perception. Bloodbone Barbaric King then opened his eyes and nodded slightly at the young lady. Yiqing Luo lowered her eyes, her voice was slightly low. I have an ominous premonition. Bloodbone Barbaric King's cold expression remained unchanged. Need my help? Pay more attention to the reunion banquet. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly as a sharp glint burst forth. once the matter of the 5 aristocratic families was exposed, the matter of me in the god realm had almost spread throughout the entire god realm. She paused for a moment before continuing, I'm an outsider, so I'm sure many people will try to find out who I am, therefore, the palace of gloomy darkness, which had been silent for a long time. If he knew this news, they would probably take action as well. I understand. The barbaric blood-bone king nodded. Yi Qing Luo gave an elegant smile to blood-bone barbaric king. Thank you for your hard work, Uncle Bone. The reunion banquet was set for 3 days later. In these 3 days, there were quite a number of people who came to visit. They were all rejected by Patriarch Feng. Yi Qing Luo carried Feng Shi and wandered around the Feng family. Until the 3rd day. The banquet had already begun. Yi Qing Luo was dragged out of bed by Granny Feng early in the morning. After freshening up, he saw Ji Wuhua's devilish face. Dressed in a pink luxurious robe that smelled like horse fleas, he posed in an incomparably bewitching posture as he lay on the long bench, smiling seductively at her. Yi Qing Luo instantly sobered up. She walked straight over. She lifted her leg and stepped on Ji Wuhua's chest. Ji Wuhua's reaction was swift. He clutched his chest and pretended to be grief-stricken. Miss Qing Luo, how could you do this to me? Sob sob sob, you're so vicious. Yi Qing Luo. Use this tone to talk to me again, I will let you know what is called true viciousness. Chapter 48-23. Ji Wuhua climbed up from the ground. That devilishly beautiful face revealed a bit of the evilness of a pretty boy. He staggered towards Yi Qing Luo as if he had no bones. Seeing Yi Qing Luo raised her fist again. Ji Wuhua paused and looked aggrieved. Miss Qing Luo, I was dug here by Feng family head early in the morning because of you, how can you treat me like this? He touched his face with one hand. For Miss Qing Luo, I even sacrificed my rest time. You must know that if I don't sleep well, I will become haggard. The minute I become haggard, I'm not handsome enough. The minute I'm not handsome enough, Miss Qing Luo will not be moved by me. He pressed his chest and his body fell towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. Miss Qing Luo, aren't you touched? When the man's tall and straight body fell down, his peripheral vision suddenly caught a glimpse of red. The young lady's fingertips were holding a feather fan which looked like a raging flame. The feather fan looked very exquisite and small. It was glistening like blood red. The young lady's fingers were as fair as jade. However, Ji Wuhua clearly saw a wisp of sharp silver light floating above the fan. Once he leaned over, that fan would directly scratch his face. The young lady's careless voice was in his ears. It's not important whether I am touched or not, the important thing is, I feel that you don't dare to move. Ji Wuhua, if King moved, his handsome face would be gone. She absolutely wanted to destroy his face so that she could inherit his beautiful face. Dream on. Ji Wuhua's body stiffened. Miss Qing Luo, can you give me some face? I am after all one of the 3 kings, the Flower King. No. The young lady's answer was very straightforward, without any hesitation. Ji Wuhua, then can you keep the weapon back? Have you thought about what to say? Yi Qing Luo raised her eyebrows and looked at him. Ji Wuhua adjusted the expression on his face and pretended to be serious. Yi Qing Luo snorted and kept the glower flame fan. Then, he sat down on a chair and said, Tell me, why did you come to my courtyard so early in the morning? Ji Wuhua withdrew his head and touched his face with one hand as he sat opposite Yi Qing Luo. Miss Qing Luo, I've always been very curious. Look at me, I'm so good looking, why? Don't you like me? Yi Qing Luo. She felt that she'd better bring out her glower flame fan. This guy, there was no way to have a proper conversation. He watched as the girl's fingers moved, and the red feather fan slammed onto the table with great force. Ji Wuhua immediately sat up straight. Patriarch Feng asked me to help you disguise yourself. After that, he explained seriously, I'm telling you, I'm the Flower King, one of the 3 kings. I'm not afraid of you. I won't argue with you for the sake of the Feng family. Disguise? Yiqing Luo totally didn't listen to what Ji Wuhua said at the back. Her attention was focused on the first half of his sentence. The girl touched her face with her slender fingers. My face. Why do I need to disguise myself? The heavenly realm is not like other realms. Although the heavenly realm is divided into classes, but there are many existences outside the classes. Like the Feng family, there are forces that have existed for thousands of years. At this moment, Ji Wuhua became serious. Your face is too similar to that of the former divine emperor. Chapter 48-24. Other forces may have seen the former emperor of God, or perhaps have a portrait of the former emperor of God. So for Miss Qing Luo's safety, Feng family had decided to let me help you disguise, in case of other accidents. Yiqing Luo thought for a while and understood her grandfather's concerns. If the other forces in the God realm knew that she was the daughter of the former emperor of God, the entire God realm would not be peaceful. Perhaps everyone would have to guess. This God realm was about to have a change of ownership. Especially if she met any ambitious forces. If they wanted to take this opportunity to achieve a certain purpose. She was afraid that Yiqing Luo would be in danger. After thinking about it, Yiqing Luo also agreed to Ji Wuhua's request. Ji Wuhua looked at the young girl and thought for a long time before reluctantly agreeing to disguise. Miss Qing Luo, you have to know that the people who want to find me, Ji Wuhua, can go 1 round around the God realm. You should be laughing secretly now. Why should I laugh secretly? Can't I laugh openly? Yiqing Luo curved her pink lips and raised her eyebrows at him. Ji Wuhua said, okay, you are a member of the Feng family, you are right. It was really difficult to flirt with this Miss Feng. Originally he just wanted to prove that his charm was not affected. But the more he flirted, the more he doubted his charm. Can't he shut up? Ji Wuhua directly took out the tools and began to toss Yiqing Luo's face up and down. After this toss. Just like that, it took 4 hours. Yiqing Luo couldn't bear it and fell asleep in the middle. When she opened her eyes again, Ji Wuhua was already finishing up the work. The man who was as handsome as a fox lowered his head. His face was no longer the pretentious demeanor and the cheeky look that made people want to hammer him to death. His eyes were full of seriousness and solemnity. Actually, this Ji Wuhua did belong to the type of handsome man. When he was serious, he was not bad. But the man who was serious for no more than 3 seconds, after being stared at by Yiqing Luo for a while. Suddenly he laughed proudly with his hands on his waist. Miss Qing Luo, now you finally found out that I am extraordinarily handsome. Have you fallen in love with me? Yiqing Luo. Was it too late to take back the compliment? He was simply a peacock. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes. Hurry up and do it. Ji Wuhua pushed him towards the bronze mirror. It's done. Yiqing Luo looked at the bronze mirror. Her long and narrow eyes were slightly startled. In the bronze mirror, there was an extremely seductive and beautiful young girl. Her porcelain white skin was like jade, and it seemed to emit a jade-like glow. Her pair of charming eyes were curved, and at the end of her eyes, there was even the outline of a gorgeous mandala flower blooming. She had a sharp nose and bright red lips. Her facial features were exquisite. Regardless of whether they were taken apart or gathered together, they were pleasing to the eye. Simply she looks like a domineering sister. It could be said that this face was completely different from her previous face, but it still vaguely resembled her. This was the same as what she had experienced in the 21st century, one of the 4 great evil arts of Huaxia, the makeup artist, the beauty filter, big eyes, thin face, and so on. But this face made the young girl look even more like an older sister. Her smile and frown made her look extremely flirtatious and flirtatious. Don't you think it's great? Ji Wuhua was full of pride. My disguise skill. if I claim to be number 2 in the god realm, absolutely no one dares to claim to be number 1. He deliberately raised his brows. A look of, adore me, adore me. The end of this chapter. Waste 7th. Young Miss, Overlord, please be gentler. Chapter 48-25. Yi Qing Luo touched her own face. It felt so real, as if it was her own face. Or rather, after Ji Wuhua had disguised her face, there was no feeling on her face at all. It was as if this face was originally her face. This was the art of disguise. It was simply the art of changing one's face. This peacock usually looked very unreliable. At the critical moment, it was quite amazing. Yi Qing Luo rarely praised the peacock. You are awesome. Ji Wuhua's tail immediately perked up as his devilishly charming phoenix eyes curved, his entire handsome face inched towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. Now do you know how powerful I am? Are you interested in admiring the moon tonight? I can accompany you to talk about poetry and life philosophy. Yi Qing Luo raised her hand and pressed her palm on Ji Wuhua's head, pressing him back. Her pink lips moved slightly and spat out a word, get lost. Ji Wuhua lowered his head and smacked his lips. Granny Feng's voice came from outside the door. Young miss, the master is urging you. Yi Qing Luo brushed the light and soft long dress on her as she responded. Then she walked out of the room. Granny Feng was slightly stunned when she saw the enchanting young girl in red clothes and black hair. Her eyes were full of amazement. No wonder you are the Flower King. Your ability of disguise is superb. Of course. Don't you know who I am? Ji Wuhua raised his chin arrogantly. Yi Qing Luo rolled her eyes at him. It was just a casual compliment. His tail was wagging to the sky. She had no idea how this peacock could become one of the 3 kings in the divine realm. There must be a conspiracy. Yi Qing Luo cursed in her heart. She suddenly felt warmth under her feet. Xiao Tuanzi hugged her leg and rested his chin on her leg, looking up at her. Fairy sister. Xiao Tuanzi was dressed in a luxurious brocade robe and his hair was neatly combed. Xiao Tuanzi was so handsome at such a young age that he could attract many girls' hearts. He would definitely be a troublemaker when he grew up. Yi Qing Luo bent down and picked him up. How did Cece recognize me? With a disguise, he would be able to cling onto her thighs accurately. Feng, she tilted her head. Because fairy sister is the prettiest. What a sweet mouth. Yi Qing Luo pinched Xiao Tuanzi's chubby cheeks. Let's go, sister will bring you to eat something delicious. The banquet was held in the courtyard of the Feng family. The distance to the main courtyard which Yi Qing Luo was staying in was separated by a street's distance. The reason why it was set up this way. It was because of the rumors of the Feng family's treasures. Feng family master also didn't want someone to take the opportunity to enter the Feng family's main courtyard and ruin the reunion banquet. Thus, the banquet was directly set up in the courtyard. The minute Yi Qing Luo left the Feng residence, she saw Feng Zhangqing standing beside a bright horse carriage. The man was dressed in a bamboo green robe embroidered with exquisite bamboo leaves. He looked fresh and elegant, gentle and refined. While he stood there quietly. He was extremely quiet. He did give off the vibe of a young master. He heard footsteps. He immediately raised his head and when his gaze fell onto Yi Qing Luo, he gave a warm smile. Miss Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo smiled at him. The group boarded the carriage. Then they headed towards the direction of the courtyard. The courtyard was extremely spacious. Feng family master set up the banquet in the garden. Beautiful purple and red flower beds, shady trees. It looked extremely beautiful. In the huge garden, table after table of delicacies were set up. The fragrance of wine and food lingered in the air. Chapter 48-26. The maids of the Feng family wandered around, refilling wine for the guests or running errands for the guests. When Yi Qing Luo arrived, he could hear the bustling sounds of the courtyard. Cheers, laughter, and congratulations could be heard continuously. It was no different from the banquets in the lower realms. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes slightly. The status of the Feng family in the divine realm was really not low. Miss Qing Luo. Feng Zhangqing's voice was heard from outside the carriage's curtains. Yiqing Luo lifted the curtains. Feng Zhangqing stretched out his hand. For a man, this action was considered normal and gentlemanly. But Yiqing Luo didn't stretch out her hand. She just pursed her lips and smiled. He held Feng Shi's hand and jumped out of the carriage nimbly. Feng Zhangqing did not feel embarrassed, and withdrew his hand. Outside the door, there were many guests, and it was extremely lively. This was the first time Yiqing Luo had seen so many people since she arrived at the God realm. They had no intention of entering through the main entrance. After all, there were too many guests at the main entrance. Everyone was full of curiosity about the adopted daughter, recognized by the acting Shen Huang of the Feng family. Naturally, the main character's appearance had to be grand. Feng Changqing and Ji Wuhua went to park the carriage. Feng Po led them along another path. Not long after they entered the courtyard. Feng Shi had a stomachache, so she dragged Granny Feng to the toilet. Yiqing Luo originally wanted to tag along. Feng Shi refused. She put on an aggrieved face, not wanting to embarrass herself in front of her fairy sister. Yiqing Luo could only let him be. Granny Feng asked Yiqing Luo to wait for her while she took Feng Shi to solve the problem. Yiqing Luo found a stone bench and waited for Granny Feng and Feng Shi. However, just as he sat down, someone came looking for trouble. "It's you? Did we see it wrong?" She actually also came to the banquet set by Patriarch Feng. Behind him, there were a few surprised female voices. Then, a few mocking voices could be heard. "Look at her. She doesn't even have a guide. Could it be that she snuck in?" There were quite a few guests in the surroundings, and when they heard the commotion, they all looked over. The gazes of the guests obviously encouraged those women. A group of orioles and swallows immediately walked towards Yiqing Luo's direction. One of them stretched out his hand and placed it on Yiqing Luo's shoulder. "Hey, slut." Her words were stuck in her throat when she turned around. The woman did not put her hand on the young girl's shoulder as she wished. Instead, it was held back by a fair hand. "What are you trying to do?" The girl's clear voice revealed a bit of coldness. When he saw the faces of the women in front of him, Yiqing Luo couldn't help but raise her brows. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. These people, wasn't she one of the women from the flower peacock's harem that he met in the 100-flower garden? His wrist was locked by her. It was the woman who had led the group that day, Hong Mei. She was the woman who claimed that the acting divine emperor was her uncle. He hadn't thought of it before. Now he saw Hong Mei. Yiqing Luo then recalled what Hong Mei said earlier. The acting divine emperor was Feng Liqiong. Hong Mei was calling Feng Liqiong uncle. But Feng Liqiong was her little uncle. Therefore, where did Hong Mei come from? She had never heard that she had a sister. While Yiqing Luo was deep in thought, the group of women in front of her were stunned when they saw the young girl's face. Mistook me for someone else? They were clearly looking over from afar. This red-robed young lady's back view was extremely similar to the young lady whom they met in the 100-flower garden some time ago. They thought. Here, they met the new love whom her husband doted on so much. Chapter 48-27. Hong Mei had been tortured badly by the young lady in red that day. She had used a lot of precious herbs and recuperated for several days before she recovered. In addition, after that day's meeting, that young lady in red had disappeared from 100-flower gardens. The ladies in 100-flower gardens understood their husband's character very well. Meeting that kind of blazing sun type, she could totally arouse the desire of her husband. It was impossible for her husband to send that young lady away in just one day. She must have been kept as a mistress by her husband. The hatred of hurting Hong Mei, the hatred of stealing her husband. It could be said, Yiqing Luo was already the enemy of all the ladies in 100 Flower Gardens. So when they saw such a similar back view, the ladies couldn't suppress the hatred in their hearts and rushed forward. But unexpectedly, the young lady in front of them was extremely unfamiliar. This young lady in red was not the young lady they saw in 100 Flower Gardens that day. But, when the few ladies lowered their eyes slightly, a glint of jealousy flashed past their eyes unknowingly. This young lady looked too seductive, enchanting and charming eyes. Even women seemed to be captivated by her pair of curved, charming eyes and the wavy corners of her eyes. Jealousy, uneasiness and alertness started to spread in their hearts. Their husband loved beauties the most. The beauty of this young lady in front of them had already surpassed all the beauties they had ever seen. No, it was even called charm. Their women's intuition told them, this young lady absolutely could not be left alive. If their husbands saw her, they were afraid. No one in 100 Flower Gardens could compete with her. Let go. Hong Mei stared at the young lady's coquettish face as she gritted her teeth and spat out 2 words. She thought that she had taken good care of her body. Her skin was fair and soft and could be called a beauty. But when the young lady's hand clasped her hand and lifted it slightly, the young lady's slender and long hand seemed to emit a jade-like glow, which made her hand look like an old man's hand. Enchanting and charming, smooth skin and jade-like bones. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up as she gave a mocking smile. Apologize. Hong Mei's eyes widened instantly. Do you know who I am? You dare to ask me to apologize? Yiqing Luo's slender fingers exerted more strength. He could vaguely hear the cracking of the bones in the woman's wrist. She still smiled sweetly. No matter who you are, you still have to apologize. She looked at Hong Mei's pained expression and her sinister facial features. Her smile became even wider. I'm just sitting here, but you guys don't give me a chance to talk. Not only did you insult me, but you also hit me. Pausing for a moment, the girl's charming eyes narrowed, revealing a bit of sharpness. Is this the upbringing of your great family? This is the Phoenix Manor's territory. You're not allowed to behave atrociously here. Apologize. One sentence after another, clear and bone-piercing words spat out from her pink lips. When he said the last 2 words, the endless chill seemed to have melted into the air. You. Hong Mei's heart skipped a beat. Although the young woman before him was not the red-clad young woman he met in the 100 Flower Garden a few days ago, she was still a young woman. But at the same time, it was also arrogant and disgusting. Behind him, there was a group of girls watching. Hong Mei would never admit defeat. Otherwise, wouldn't her prestige in the 100 Flower Garden be swept away? Her eyes were filled with murderous intent as she endured the intense pain from her wrist. The other hand was raised up as it slammed down towards Yiqing Luo's face. Carrying a majestic profound chi, it seemed as though it was going to destroy the young lady's face. Yiqing Luo on the other hand released her wrist as her figure abruptly retreated 2 steps. Chapter 48-28. Yiqing Luo loosened her grip. The girls behind her immediately went forward to support Hong Mei. Sister Hong Mei, are you all right? A group of people crowded forward with concern. Hong Mei's face was steely green as she stared coldly at Yiqing Luo. The hatred in her eyes. As though it was going to drown Yiqing Luo. She stared at Yiqing Luo furiously as her meticulously made-up face was slightly distorted. You slut, do you know who I am? I don't care who you are. Yiqing Luo replied very straightforwardly as her narrow eyes were frivolous with a hint of ridicule. I say, young lady, how old are you this year? What do you mean? Hong Mei felt that she was being ridiculed. Yiqing Luo indifferently sized her up. I think young lady should be at least 30 years old. Why are you acting like a 3-year-old child? You can't win. So you want to sue your family, to get them to back you up? Her words paused slightly as she seemed to have thought of something. Oh right, nowadays a 3-year-old child wouldn't bring out their family's name for a small matter. She covered her lips as she laughed softly. A lively young lady with overflowing charm. Between this smile and frown, even a lady had no choice but to admit her charm and charm. Hong Mei finally understood that the young lady in front of her was ridiculing her. Her expression turned from steely green to extremely ugly. Her jade-like fingers clenched tightly. What, 30 years old? She was merely in her 20s. A lady's biggest taboo was to be called old. Especially by a young lady who was younger and prettier than herself. Moreover, other than ridiculing her for looking old, there was also the second half of the sentence. This was simply an insult to her. First it was ridiculing her for being old. The next moment it was ridiculing that she wasn't even comparable to a 3-year-old child. Hong Mei's face flushed a deep red. She was angry and annoyed. She couldn't wait to crush the young lady in front of her into pieces. Yiqing Luo raised her brows as her charming eyes sparkled. Why? Am I not speaking the truth? She slowly inched forward by a few inches. This movement. It shocked Hong Mei as she subconsciously took 2 steps back. He seemed to have an indescribable fear towards the young girl in front of him. Yiqing Luo curved her pink lips and looked at Hong Mei's action with some ridicule. Those who can come to the Feng family's banquet are either rich or noble. I didn't expect God Realm's noble daughter to have such an image. She scoffed and said in a mocking tone, how disappointing. The few ladies didn't understand the deep meaning behind the 2 words, God Realm, that Yiqing Luo mentioned. He only noticed the other meaning of this sentence. This young girl had never seen a noble daughter before. This also meant that this girl was not a member of the nobility. Then she was just a commoner. With this understanding, the gazes which the few ladies shot towards Yiqing Luo were filled with despise. In the immortal world, it was different from those in the lower realm where the strong ruled and the fist was supreme. The people of the God realm attached great importance to bloodline. They also attached great importance to the division of ranks between races. To the royal family or the nobles, the peace nation. They were inferior existences. The royals and nobles looked down on the people of the plebs. Facing the peaceful people, the nobles had an innate sense of superiority. You're right, this is the Feng family's banquet. Among the chatter, a lady spoke up. Those who come are either rich or noble, then. May I ask, which family's daughter are you? Why have we never seen you before? This group of ladies were the daughters of various large aristocratic families. They wandered in the aristocratic circle all year round. Chapter 48-29. Naturally, he knew all of the young ladies and young masters of the various nobles. They were certain. This was the first time they met this young lady. Very unfamiliar. Another lady took out an invitation card and waved it in front of Yiqing Luo. Those who accept the invitation from the Feng family's banquet will have an invitation card, I wonder. Miss, do you have an invitation card? When the lady asked this, her tone suddenly raised. Apparently, she wanted to attract everyone's attention. The deeper meaning of the lady's words was much more interesting. Yiqing Luo didn't have an invitation card, which meant that she had snuck in through some shameful means. As for the purpose of sneaking in, a beautiful and enchanting young lady sneaking into a banquet full of nobles. What purpose could there be? Wasn't it the same thing? Instantly, the surrounding guests and the few ladies in front of her all looked at Yiqing Luo with a gaze filled with ridicule and deep meaning. Facing all kinds of gazes from all directions, Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change at all. She faintly raised her eyebrows, arms crossed over her chest, looking languid and amorous. I don't have an invitation card. Sure enough. Hong Mei revealed a complacent smile. Without an invitation card, how did you enter the Feng family? Yiqing Luo lowered her eyes and looked at her feet. I walked in, don't tell me I flew in. You don't have an invitation card, who will let you in? Hong Mei spat. you're obviously the one who sneaked into the Feng family without permission. Yi Qing Luo casually hooked her lips. I'm really sorry. I happen to be the kind of person who doesn't need an invitation card and can still walk sideways in the Feng family. She curled her lips and glanced at Hong Mei with ridicule. I'm different from you. This was simply a blatant ridicule. Hong Mei's face was almost twisted into a ball. You're still quibbling? Hong Mei looked behind her. Go, ask the Feng family's housekeeper to come over. Say that we caught a person who sneaked into the Feng family's banquet without an invitation card. The lady responded and hurriedly turned around to look for the person. Yi Qing Luo crossed her arms and leaned against the stone table behind her. This Hong Mei was really a troublemaker. Whenever they met her, they would always cause trouble. Lin Mengya wondered how her youngest uncle managed to have such a niece. If this Hong Mei was really little uncle's niece, Lin Mengya would not be able to help her. She decided, cut off all ties. She would never call a fool her sister. Yi Qing Luo looked in the direction where Granny Feng and Feng Shi had left. He calculated the time. He guessed that Granny Feng would be back soon. Yi Qing Luo wasn't in the mood to tangle with Hong Mei here. He still had to rush over to his grandfather's place. If grandfather waited for too long, the other guilds were worried. Moreover, when Feng Shi came over later, the kid would see such an unfriendly side of her, which might traumatize him at such a young age and make him think that women were terrifying creatures. That would be terrible. He could teach these little scums a lesson whenever he wanted. Don't panic. There was still a long way to go before the banquet. He would send Feng Shi over after he met his grandfather. Let's play slowly. Her pink lips were curled into a smile, and her eyebrows seemed to be filled with mockery. This caused the group of women to gnash their teeth in anger. Hong Mei was just about to say a few words of mockery before the Feng family's housekeeper arrived. But she suddenly heard the young lady call out in a frivolous tone, "Oh, isn't that Flower King and Master Feng?" Chapter 48-30. The two words, Flower King. That made a group of women immediately look happy. Is it my husband? Is he here? Where is he? A group of women suddenly looked around. Sure enough, they saw two extremely outstanding people in front of the crowd. One was in a pink brocade robe, extremely charming. The other was in a bamboo robe, gentle like a young master of a noble family. The two of them had completely different styles, but when they stood together, they were inexplicably harmonious. It was pleasing to the eye. The women immediately exclaimed in ecstasy and rushed towards the direction of Ji Wuhua. Hong Mei was just about to rush over with her sisters. Suddenly, she remembered the voice that reminded her just now. It seemed to be the voice of that girl in red. Hong Mei's brows twitched and she immediately turned back. Where was the figure of the girl at the stone table? She looked around once. She didn't see that fiery figure of the girl. She actually ran away. Hong Mei clenched her fists and cursed in her heart. That slut definitely had a guilty conscience. So she took the opportunity to escape. If there was a chance to catch her, she must expose her in public. Hong Mei suppressed her anger and turned back to look at Ji Wuhua, who was surrounded by a group of women. She immediately adjusted the expression on her face. Then she swayed her slender waist towards Ji Wuhua and greeted him. Yi Qing Luo deliberately brought up Ji Wuhua and Feng Changqing. It was actually a complete accident. She mainly glanced at Granny Feng, who was bringing Feng Shi over. So she said that casually. She didn't expect it to be such a coincidence. Forget it. Anyway, Ji Wuhua was a peacock. He couldn't live without women. She sent a bunch of women in front of Ji Wuhua, letting him hug them on both sides. She left them to Ji Wuhua to drag. Yi Qing Luo walked towards Granny Feng with a smile and took Feng Shi from her arms. Granny Feng's gaze went past Yi Qing Luo and looked in the direction of Hong Mei and the others. Young miss, what happened? Nothing. Yi Qing Luo smiled and waved her hand. Granny Feng saw that there were no extra marks on Yi Qing Luo and her mood was not affected much. Then she was relieved. Little Miss, you are the little miss of the Feng family and the future patriarch of the Feng family. If you encounter any problems, just ask the family head for help, Granny Feng instructed as she led the way. Yi Qing Luo followed behind, her eyes filled with smiles. I know, I won't stand on ceremony with grandfather. Granny Feng led the way. Yi Qing Luo could clearly hear the noise of singing and dancing, getting clearer and clearer. Granny Feng arranged for them to rest in a room dozens of meters away from the banquet. The distance and direction. Coincidentally, he could see a portion of the banquet. Adding on to the fact that Yi Qing Luo was extremely sensitive towards sounds, she was able to hear the voices from the other end of the banquet. Little Miss, sit here for a while. When the patriarch calls out your name, come out from here. Granny Feng pulled Yi Qing Luo and showed her the way. This road, keep walking straight ahead until you reach the patriarch. Yi Qing Luo nodded her head. Granny Feng then took Feng Shi to the Feng family master to warn him. This small house was built in the garden and was surrounded by the fragrance of flowers. There were also branches that entered the house through the window. It was a different feeling. Yi Qing Luo liked this style very much. The sound from the banquet was very lively. Yi Qing Luo leaned against the window and looked towards the banquet. Through the cover of the branches, she could vaguely see that the guests were taking their seats. Chapter 48-31. Yi Qing Luo's gaze fell on the group of people who were sitting in a group. It was Hong Mei and that group of people. At this time, each and every one of them were sticking to Ji Wuhua's side, trying to please him. Ji Wuhua was indeed patient when facing women. His face was full of smiles as he appeased them one by one. Feng Zhangqing was so annoyed that he left Ji Wuhua and headed towards Patriarch Feng. About the time it took for half a stick of incense to burn. The guests were basically all seated. There were no more guests entering the banquet. Patriarch Feng got up happily and started his lengthy opening speech. It was nothing more than praising Yi Qing Luo in all kinds of ways. It attracted the echoes of numerous guests. Yi Qing Luo half supported the window as she looked at Patriarch Feng's joyful look from afar. Her pink lips unconsciously hooked up. Grandfather was really very happy. Seeing grandfather so happy, she agreed to this reunion banquet and didn't feel that it was so troublesome. She was looking at Patriarch Feng with a smile, reading the opening speech. Suddenly, her ears moved slightly. The smile on her face disappeared as her gaze suddenly congealed to a place not far away from the window. A black shadow flashed past. Vaguely, there was a bit of dangerous aura. Yi Qing Luo's expression congealed as she flipped over the window and followed the black shadow quietly. That black shadow was extremely fast, wandering among the flower beds that filled the sky and the lush foliage of the trees. As if it was deliberately avoiding something. Yi Qing Luo chased closely. She could vaguely see it. The black silhouette in front of him was a person wearing a black robe that was shrouded from head to toe. She felt that these people who wanted to create trouble were all sick in the head. Dressed in a black robe in broad daylight, even his face was covered. Wasn't this even more eye-catching? One look and it was obvious that he was a villain, trying to create trouble. Grandfather was very happy for this reunion banquet. She couldn't let others ruin the reunion banquet. That black shadow went straight to the vicinity of the banquet. There were many maids coming and going. The black shadow stuck close to a few lush trees to hide his figure. Or as if he was observing something in the dark. Yi Qing Luo noticed that the black shadow seemed to be looking at grandfather's direction. The target was grandfather? Another half an incense stick of time passed. It was time for grandpa's opening remarks to end. The black shadow suddenly took out something from his bosom. Yi Qing Luo could vaguely see that it was a spherical object. It looked like he was going to throw it in the direction of the banquet. Oh no, that's a hallucinatory ball from the immortal world. Old Man Sung's voice urgently rang out. If that ball explodes at the banquet, the smoke that sprays out will create illusions for those who breathe it. It was also commonly known as dream building. It was a dream that had been set long ago. Yiqing Luo's expression froze slightly. One had to know that everyone present was a reputable figure in the god realm. They were all representatives of the major nobles. This black shadow actually dared to do this in front of so many people, with the psychedelic ball? What was the purpose of this? What kind of illusion was that ball creating? Were they trying to mess up the reunion banquet? Yiqing Luo's expression congealed slightly as she squinted her sharp eyes. He was just about to rush forward to stop that person. Suddenly, that black shadow who was holding the psychedelic ball suddenly went limp and fell backwards. At the moment when it had not caused a sensation. Yiqing Luo could only vaguely see a red sleeve brushing past. That black shadow had disappeared without a trace. The wind blew and the leaves rustled. As if that black shadow was just an illusion and had never appeared. Chapter 48-32. Yiqing Luo's eyes congealed as her brows furrowed slightly. She quickly moved and stopped at the place where the black figure had hidden itself. Her gaze surveyed the surroundings as she released her senses. Indeed, she didn't feel any abnormality. Impossible. Someone must have taken that black shadow away just now. What was their motive? Not waiting for Yiqing Luo to ponder over the reason. A mischievous person came looking for her. It's you? Hong Mei's voice was heard. You commoner, you really sneaked into the banquet. What motive do you have? Yiqing Luo turned her head. Then, he saw Hong Mei leading a few of her bewitching girls and 10 odd guards charging over in a ferocious manner. Hong Mei originally led a group of sisters, surrounding Ji Wuhua and fawning on him. But there were too many people crowding around. She only had one husband. Even if Ji Wuhua treated every lady gently and said a few words to her. But there was no way to take care of everyone. Plus Hong Mei had just been ridiculed by a commoner young lady. Her mood wasn't particularly good. She was only thinking about that commoner young lady's motive in the Feng residence. It was a coincidence. She just happened to see the red-robed young lady's figure looming in the trees not more than 10 steps away from the banquet. She seemed to be hiding there, spying on everything at the banquet. Hong Mei was instantly excited. Indeed, someone who sneaked into the banquet. Now she was still hiding in the dark and didn't dare to show her head. If she was at the Feng family's banquet. If she caught this unknown person. If she caught her in public and chased her out of the Feng family's courtyard, this was also beneficial to her family. It could also let her husband's sight be placed on her alone. And that slut would also be cursed by everyone in the god realm. Hence. Which resulted in the above incident where Hong Mei led her men to surround Yiqing Luo. Hearing the familiar voice and that mischievous tone, Yiqing Luo raised her brows as she looked at Hong Mei. She hadn't looked for Hong Mei yet. Hong Mei actually came knocking on her door. Did she have to stick her face in front of her for her to slap? Yiqing Luo couldn't understand this trick. Hong Mei pointed at Yiqing Luo and looked at the guards behind her. It's this woman. She must have some motive for sneaking into the banquet. Quick, catch her. The guard stared at the girl in red in front of him. Suddenly, he hesitated. The girl in front of him was enchanting and charming. Her pair of charming eyes seemed to ripple with the colors of the starry sky. He just stood there. It was as if a fairy from the 9th heaven had descended to the mortal world. He didn't seem like someone who would do something like sneaking into the banquet. Especially, Hong Mei didn't know. But the guards could tell at a glance. The blazing red robe on the young girl seemed to have a simple design and embroidery. But in fact, whether it was the fabric or the embroidery, that was the exclusive top design of the Feng family. Especially, on the girl's chest. It was embroidered like cherry blossoms. Isn't this the symbol of the Feng family? This girl, it was related to the Feng family. The guard's hesitation caused Hong Mei's expression to immediately darken. What are you all standing around for? I can guarantee you that she doesn't have an invitation on her. Looking at Hong Mei's gloomy face, Yiqing Luo's heart suddenly welled up with a trace of playful laughter. Her pink lips curled up into a bright smile. Yeah, I don't have an invitation. Heard that. She admitted it herself. Hong Mei grabbed the guard next to her. She doesn't have an invitation and yet she appeared here sneakily. There must be something wrong. Yiqing Luo's smile became even more radiant as her long and narrow eyes curved. Chapter 48-33. I'm so powerful, even without an invitation, I can still come and go freely in the Feng family. The young lady said with a smile. Her tone was very calm. Without showing off at all. As if she was stating a fact. But this smile fell into Hong Mei's eyes. That was a blatant ridicule. She clenched her fists and sneered coldly. Who do you think you are? Saying such words at the Feng family's banquet, aren't you afraid of cutting your own tongue? Some people just overestimate themselves. You've already been caught in the act, yet you're still putting on an act. Relying on that vixen face of yours, even the Feng family's guards are captivated. What a great ability. Isn't that so? The girls started to talk at once and started the ridicule mode. The guards' faces darkened when they heard that. What did it mean that they were captivated by a woman? They didn't have any eyesight. And even questioned their professional security. But the other party was a guest. No matter how dissatisfied they were in their hearts, they had to forcefully suppress it down. Ignoring this group of women. Anne. The young lady who was ridiculed by the crowd. At this moment, her hands were crossed in front of her chest, looking at them lazily. As if looking at a retard. That enchanting and charming face, there wasn't a bit of embarrassment and anger. That kind of arrogance, elegance. It was an innate nobility that was naturally formed. What you said is right, some people just overestimate themselves. The young lady's clear voice, with a hint of ridicule. She tilted her head and blinked her charming eyes. Why don't we make a bet? What do you want to do? Hong Mei's brows tightened vigilantly. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up slightly. Let's bet, between the two of us. Who will be thrown out of the Feng family's courtyard first? How about it? Hong Mei stared at her up and down, as if trying to see what tricks she was playing. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers touched her lips. You don't dare? Sister Hong Mei, just bet with her. The girls opened their mouths. You are the niece of the acting god emperor. She is a thief who sneaked into the Feng family's residence. Naturally she will be thrown out of the Feng family's courtyard. Why are you afraid of her? Hong Mei heard this and felt that it was reasonable. Even if she had caused such a huge commotion at the banquet. However, what she did was to maintain the order of the banquet and the safety of the guests. For the sake of her mother and uncle's relationship. How could the Feng family possibly drive her out? This girl. He was probably trying to make use of her suspicious personality. He was purposely scaring her. Thinking like this, Hong Mei calmed herself down. What do you want to bet? Give me something simple. Yiqing Luo casually snapped her fingers. I bet you will be thrown out of the Feng family immediately, and your family will also be removed from the list of nobles. You. Hong Mei's expression changed. She clenched her fists and clenched her teeth. What if I don't? Yiqing Luo tilted her head and smiled innocently. I'm at your disposal. A haze flashed across Hong Mei's eyes. Fine, you said it yourself. Of course. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled slightly. If I win. There's no need for you to do anything too difficult. She pointed her slender fingers at the ground. Just kneel on the ground and shout, "You're a pig," 3 times. Hong Mei was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Yiqing Luo didn't seem to know and put on a considerate look. Isn't it very simple? No need to thank me, who asked me to be so kind. Hong Mei took a deep breath. This girl, every word and sentence, was deliberately leading her imagination to run wild. On the surface, she looked calm. In fact, her heart had long been flustered. She would like to see. How much longer could this young girl continue acting? Chapter 48-34. Good. Hong Mei gritted her teeth and spat out a word. After that, she carefully stared at Yi Qing Luo's expression, trying to see the panic on the young lady's face. But she only saw a mocking sneer on the young lady's face, as though she had made a stupid decision. Hong Mei's heart thumped hard. She had an inexplicable ominous premonition. After Hong Mei agreed, Yi Qing Luo's long and narrow eyes curved up, like a blooming rose, full of flames. I wish you good luck. I hope your position in the Feng family is very high. Words with a smile. But it was full of ridicule. Hong Mei sneered and raised her chin. That's natural. The girls next to her laughed like a flower. I'm afraid you still don't know who our sister Hong Mei is? She is the niece of the acting god emperor. The acting god emperor and the host of today's banquet, Patriarch Feng. Our father and son. That means Sister Hong Mei is Patriarch Feng's granddaughter. The girls laughed together. Do you think Patriarch Feng will chase Sister Hong Mei out? Under the flattery of many beautiful women, Hong Mei was even more proud. Suddenly she became more confident. Looking at the group of girls in front of her, she smiled delightedly. Yi Qing Luo's expression didn't change as she lightly spat out a word, oh. After that, her pink lips curved, then you know. She raised her slender hand and pointed at the banquet, at the old man standing at the main seat. Her charming eyes winked playfully at him. After that, she retracted her gaze and looked at Hong Mei. This banquet, who is it for? Don't tell me you want to say it's you? Hong Mei ridiculed. Yi Qing Luo nodded smilingly, yes. Hong Mei couldn't help laughing, ha ha ha. You don't even know who today's banquet is for and you dare to say it's for you. This is the funniest school bell I've ever heard. Today is the banquet set up by the Feng family's patriarch for his granddaughter. Don't tell me you're going to say you're Patriarch Feng's granddaughter. Ha ha ha. A few of them were giggling like orioles and swallows. The purple-clothed, black-haired girl rested her chin on her slender hand and nodded seriously. It's me. Ha ha ha, the group of people laughed even louder. Amidst the women's mocking laughter, the girl moved gracefully. He walked past them and headed straight for the banquet. A young girl dressed in a purple dress that was as beautiful as jade walked slowly and elegantly. Her silky black hair was combed into an exquisite hairstyle. Her enchanting face was devastatingly beautiful. She was like a fairy that had walked out of a painting. With a single glance, one would be captivated. After Hong Mei's disturbance, almost everyone's attention was drawn to him. Hong Mei's voice was so loud. Everyone could roughly understand what was going on. They were all trying to guess the girl's identity. Everyone watched as the girl walked step by step towards the main seat of the banquet, towards the high-spirited old man dressed in an embroidered robe. Then, he stood in front of the old man. He stretched out his hand. She smiled and said in a soft voice, "Grandfather." 2 simple words. However, it was like a bolt of lightning that struck the hearts of everyone present. One after another, they stared nervously at Patriarch Feng's expression. Immediately, they saw the old man raised his hand and held the girl's hand. You, this child, are naughty. What's going on? Didn't I tell you to listen to grandfather's words and come out? Why did you run out by yourself? Although his words were filled with complaints, but it was full of concern and pampering. 6 friends who read books, you can search for Blue, and you'll find this site in the first instance. Waste 7th Young Miss, Overlord, be gentle with your love. You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.